Hi, it's Grant from Dubbo. I just thought I'd do a quick video presentation because of all the constant questions on the left hook, and I thought I'd give you my 5 cents worth on how I think the left hook should be thrown. And also I wanted to just do away with and dispense with a lot of the bullshit out there about how left hooks should and shouldn't be thrown, and try and take away some of the restrictions that people have in their minds that left hooks have to be thrown in a textbook fashion or are only in a certain way. So I guess the first thing that you have to ask yourself with the left hook, and it is the fundamental question, is why throw it? If you're boxing, a straight punch obviously is the shortest distance between you and your target. It's also visually, because it's based on depth perception rather than lateral movement, the hardest to detect. And potentially, if you hit with a good straight punch, it's powerful enough to knock your opponent out. So why throw it? And the answer is pretty obvious, and it's fundamental to your technique. So you have to understand the question, or the answer to the question, before you can really understand the left hook. You throw a left hook to hit your opponent on the sides of the head. If they post their guard, straight punches are relatively useless. Of course you can, through a series of combinations or deception or drawing or feigning or faking, whatever you want to do, get through. But the easiest way for somebody to post their guard in the front is to come around the sides. Now the left hook is by far an easier punch to land than the right hook, simply because it's your lead hand and it reduces the distance to your opponent that the punch has to travel. So the left hook is great at sneaking around behind your opponent's guard and hitting them on the side of the head. And that does make it a devastating knockout punch, because the muscles that support the head this way are a lot weaker than the muscles that support the head this way. So a punch on this side will have significantly more slap effect, causing the brain to shake around inside the skull, than a punch this way. It's very hard to knock someone out with a punch on the forehead because they've got the muscles down through the traps to support their head. But this way, quick snap and they're out. It's good night, Joseph. So the left hook is a brutally powerful knockout punch, and in fact, in terms of knockouts, I would suggest anecdotally that it's probably in the order of 50% of knockouts occurs as a result of a left hook. Might be a bit high, might be a bit low, I don't really know, but it's a very, very high percentage nonetheless. So we throw the left hook to hit the opponent on the side of the head. There are other uses like deflecting the guard, setting up for counter strikes with the right hand, a whole stack of other things, but the primary purpose is to hit the opponent on the side of the head. Now if you throw a punch that hits your opponent with a moderate to high degree of force on the side of the head, you have thrown a good left hook, period. Now there are of course a lot of caveats to that, like maintaining good defensive position, having protective hand position, making sure your head's in the right spot, and there's a whole swag of ways you can improve the power. But if you can sneak in a punch, no matter how awkward looking, no matter how unorthodox, and it hits the opponent on the side of the head, it's a good left hook. I've seen lots of people knocked out with bad left hooks. Technically, they've done a really good job by landing on the target. I can throw 10,000 pivoting, rolling, torso-leaning left hooks, and if none of them land, they're not a pinch as good as an awkwardly thrown, looping left hook that actually lands. And the reason why landing, it's obvious, but the reason why landing is so important is because it dictates your technique. It's impossible to throw a rolling, pivoting left hook and hit a target well out in front of you. You just can't do it. So you vary your technique of your left hook to suit the range to the target. It'll also depend on whether you've got a slight angle on your opponent, your foot position in relation to your opponent, whether your opponent is charging forward or going back, as to how you throw the left hook. So you can do it a million different ways, but the key thing is make it land. Now, the best way to make a left hook land is to throw it in the course of a combination. Because as you know with the eyes, any sideways movement is very quickly and easily detected. So as soon as you start to flare that punch, to hook it around and throw that left hook, it will be seen by an opponent if it is an isolated punch. So in terms of a left hook, throwing it at the back end or in the middle of a combination is far more effective. So we usually roll left hooks into combinations unless you're Lloyd Jones Jr. and then you throw them whenever you like. Okay, so left hook. Now that I've said as long as it lands, that's the most important thing. There are some things that can give you a better left hook, make it more deceptive, make your body position better in terms of countering any defensive position, and also give you more power. Everyone wants to know how to get more power, but really that's at the bottom end of the spectrum. The first and most important thing is your defensive position during the hook. The second and most important thing is the accuracy of the hook. And the third most important thing is the power. Even a moderate left hook, just an arm punch, is powerful enough. If I just throw an arm punch left hook, no body pivot, nothing. If I hit you with that, chances are, if you're not expecting it, if you're not ready, then I'm going to get a knockout, or at least a knockdown, or at least give myself an opportunity to land a few more punches because you're dazzled. Okay, so the left hook. The basic stock standard left hook comprises of only a couple of fundamentals. One is that the forearm travels on the plane of the punch. Now the reason for that is purely power and also a tiny bit of defence. Because if you throw a left hook like this, you get crumpling on the target. If you throw a left hook with your forearm like a spear, it drives through the target, giving you more power. It's as simple as that. So you always try and lift at some stage, even if it's at the end of the hook, the elbow up, so the elbow and the hand are travelling on the same plane. Now that'll vary too, because if you throw like a shovel hook, the plane will be that. A level hook, it'll be that. If you throw it on a slight angle, it'll be that. If you throw your opponent's heads down here and you throw down, as long as the elbow and the hand are on the same plane, the plane doesn't matter. The plane is not important. It is the fact that the elbow and the hand are on the same plane. The second thing is, generally speaking, you maintain the same bend in your arm. Now this is of no real importance, apart from the fact that if you're starting to extend your arm, you're not really throwing the hook, which is okay, because as long as it lands, who cares? If you're starting to flick the arm out, it's a straight punch. And it's going to land forward of the target, not around behind. So what you tend to do is to keep a relatively similar angle in your arm for the majority of the distance of travel of the punch. So if my opponent's head is here, I get that angle and then I can draw back around. Get that angle and I can draw back around. It would be silly to go like that, because that's just an awkward straight